do it. Let's do it. Do it like this. Ba-boom, ba-boom. Do it like that. Yeah. Ba-boom. Ba-boom, ba-boom. Do it like that. Yeah. Ba-boom. Do it like this. Ba-boom, ba-boom. Do it like that. Yeah. Ba-boom. Do it like this. Ba-boom, ba-boom. Yeah.
Fire up the grill. It's time for another smoking edition of At PT. I'm your grill master, Kyle Blackman.
But don't let him fool you. He's only in charge of the hot dogs and buns. I'm the real chef here, Emily Branstetter. There are plenty of forms of recognition out there for excellence. Some people win lots of money. Some receive trophies. Some find themselves on the news. It can be a source of pride and prestige. For PTHS teacher Barry Wood, the winner of many, many accolades over the years, he can now add yet another that is the honor of, well, seeing his name published in a large book. But in this case, it's not just any book, but the Who's Who Among American Teachers 2005-2006 edition. Mr. Wood joins a short list of just 5% of the nation's best teachers who find themselves mentioned. But the awards don't stop there. In addition, Mr. Wood finds himself alongside a fellow PTHS teacher, Dr. Robert Dell, as finalists from the Top 5 Teachers of Excellence Awards given by the perfectly named Teacher Excellence Center. They find themselves competing with 104 other finalists from around Western Pennsylvania. Also in the running are Cynthia Olendike from the middle school, Laura O'Brien from Bower Hill, and Pleasant Valley's own Kelly Zychek and Madeline Sipp. All of these teachers will be attending a dinner at the Carnegie Music Hall, right next door to the Giant Dinosaur, in the Oakland this Thursday, April 27th at 6 p.m., where the winners will be announced.
A library is a wonderful thing. You can go in and check out any book you want and bring it back for no charge. However, sometimes we may forget all of this free stuff everywhere, that it takes a lot of money to run a library and keep its circulation current. But a number of hungry Peters Township citizens helped to make both the library and the Community Endowment for Peters Township, affectionately known here as CEPT, are able to provide a never-ending supply of services that the local community by attending a fundraiser known as Taste of the Township. No, we're not talking about eating street signs and dining on a huge chunk of sidewalk, but rather gathering together to try some of the best cuisine Peters Township and the surrounding area have to offer. This all went down at Valley Brook Country Club last Friday, as the $50 a head went to help the worthy operations to make sure that the residents can keep coming back for seconds at the library.
Back in 1962, a senator by the name of Gaylord Nelson, don't ever try to tell us that you didn't learn some history here by watching at PT, proposed the idea of making the nation more aware of its environment and environmental concerns by convincing the then President Kennedy to go on a national conservation tour. As is always the case in politics, it took just 6 short years before Senator Nelson revisited the idea of environmental awareness, barring the idea of organized demonstration from the ongoing anti-war protests. This became what we know as Earth Day. Now that you're up to speed on it, maybe you'll think twice before throwing your trash on the ground. As part of the environmental awareness that Earth Day brings, the township also coordinates its annual cleanup day to coincide. This is the time when hundreds of residents take to the streets of Peters Township, cleaning up whatever they see, possibly including a large number of Easter candy wrappers strewn about. Both events took place this Saturday. As if there wasn't enough, Peters Township also used the opportunity to have residents bring down items for recycling. If you missed all of these events, remember that there's just 363 days left until the next one.
With legislators in Pennsylvania trying to find ways to solve ours and the world's problems through the addition of one-armed bandits throughout the state, it seems that many forget about some of the bad things that occur when gamblers get together. The latest production from the highly acclaimed PTHS Thespian Troupe No. 185 is a throwback to the days when gangs and gambling money ruled the world. Actually, that's pretty close to what's going on today. I guess what comes around goes around. With his production of Guys and Dolls. I think we have one of the gangsters right here, right now, standing by. They call him Benny South Street, but he kind of looks familiar.
High school is doing Guys and Dolls, and it was made in the 1950s, but it is based in the 1940s, involving New York gangsters. And the storyline is about two relationships between one couple who hates each other then loves each other, and then about another couple which starts with a bet. And they end up loving each other, and the story ends very happily.
Look kind of like Jerry Scheller from the morning announcements. Well, here's something that definitely didn't look like, nor would you ever see on the morning announcements. His name is Harry Klemfus.
If the name doesn't ring a bell, then you're about to learn a little bit more useless information that only at PT, well, actually any good factual book.
Or the internet.
Yeah, or the internet, or a trivia buff.
We're going to be here all day.
Can provide. Mr. Kemflus's claim to fame is the creation of National Secretaries Day and the National Professional Secretaries Week.
Contrary to popular belief, the holiday wasn't the creation of Hallmark or even the flower shops, but a way to recognize the hard-working, coffee-making, memo-typing men and women out there keeping all business afloat. So find a good way to say thank you to your favorite secretary, administrative professional, or executive assistant by sending someone flowers, gifts, or candy on this Thursday, April 27th.
Or better yet, keep track of your own calendar for one day.
Recently, Mr. Radilla's class got a little taste of Washington, D.C. with a visit from Tim Murphy, a representative of the 18th Congressional District of our little Commonwealth, and of course, star of his own Channel 7 program, Congressman Tim Murphy's Capitol Report. He took part in a question and answer session with the students about life in Congress, as well as stories from his recent visit to the war-torn Iraq.
While the date May 5th signifies the birthday of our producer's favorite cat, the date's importance can be felt more south of the border. Of course, it's Cinco de Mayo, and if all you know comes from Taco Bell or Don Pablo's, then grab your sombrero and join the fiesta while we hear from the former Gomez, now known as Mrs. Boxtos.
When you ask most students what Cinco de Mayo is, most of them say it's Mexican Independence Day, which is not exactly true. Mexico had won its independence from Spain in 1810. The first Cinco de Mayo actually occurred because they won a great victory against the French troops who had come under Napoleon III. So it's basically a time to celebrate freedom and liberty, just like an Independence Day, and they do treat it like an Independence Day with fireworks and parties, and people basically celebrate in the streets and have parades and festivals.
While training for sports, an athlete must go through a rigorous training session, exercise and diet regime to maintain peak performance. In order to create a well-crafted video or television program, it requires none of these sacrifices or commitments. In fact, you can be overweight, more on that later, and out of shape and still produce some quality work, although it's not suggested. However, a little bit of skill and some really long hours can make a big difference. As promised on the last episode of At PT, we will now share with you, our faithful audience, the results of the PTHS's award-winning day at the Television and Video Teachers Consortium 13th Annual Student Video Festival held at Robert Morris University's Seawall Center. PTHS media students took home 4 awards of excellence in the categories of news, magazine, documentary, and commercial. And now, here's a few photos of the students holding their awards. Take it away.
In a perfect world, students would have a chance to sit down to 3 healthy hot meals a day with a big tall glass of ice cold milk and a side of steaming hot garlic mashed potatoes, topped with crispy bacon, and a heaping bowl of fettuccine and a heavy Parmesan cheese sauce. If you have these kinds of fleeting thoughts, it may be important for you to stay tuned to At PT, as At PT investigates the eating habits, or lack thereof, of the typical high school student. Put down that bag of potato chips. It's another At PT exclusive.
Not just teens, you know, it has to do, I think, with our hectic lifestyle, for one thing. Less and less people are also, as a family, eating together. You know, that's tough when you've got sports and everything else.
I actually feel a lot better when I eat breakfast. I think I'm happier and the day seems to go a lot faster.
This morning I had some Reese's, if that counts as breakfast.
I'm a big fan of like microwavable waffles, yeah, and chocolate milk.
Chocolate chip muffins, and
yeah, I can't live without breakfast. I have to have breakfast.
Typically, I don't eat breakfast.
Some apple juice.
An energy bar in the morning so I can get energized for school and a Gatorade.
Generally, I could, but I'm too lazy to eat breakfast.
Peanut butter and jelly every single morning with milk.
I feel better when I eat breakfast, but it's hard for me to eat breakfast because it feels like I'm going to throw up because I haven't eaten anything all night.
Well, he would eat what he thought was one serving of these taco chips. So we flipped it over and started looking at the label. And actually, in that one bag was 3 servings. He had no idea. He was looking at volume.
Some of the protein and energy bars can be a real nice fill-in if you just are absolutely unable to get what I call real food. But you need to read those labels carefully because a lot of them are more like candy bars.
We tend in America to get plenty of protein.
A lot of people will express concern to me that they don't feel they have time for healthy and proper eating. I hear that from everybody because the pace of life for everybody is so rushed anymore.
Don't do really well is getting the vegetables and the fruits in. And you may notice too, they're starting to make that a lot more accessible, even in the grocery stores, ready to go type fresh fruits.
And the difference between the people who are healthy and feel good and active and don't go to the doctor very much and those who don't feel very good and go to the doctor a lot and don't have much of a life is the healthy people who feel better make the time. It's just, you just have to.
Usually fries for lunch.
A sandwich and an apple.
A sandwich and like some sort of candy, maybe Snickers and cashews. And
crackers with peanut butter. Apples and pretzel and water. I try to eat some healthy things.
And cookies from the snack shack. And
whatever's on the menu. My favorite is goulash.
Granola bar, fruit, vegetables, and cookies.
Drink and then maybe some more cookies from the snack shack.
Lunch, I either have a chicken burger with French fries.
Chicken burger and 2 fries. A chicken burger and some fries.
I mostly eat lunch and dinner, but I rarely eat breakfast.
I don't know. I usually don't eat dinner sometimes.
I also typically don't eat dinner.
I do not find time to eat 3 meals a day. I wake up pretty late in the morning, so I only eat 2.
But if I do, I eat something. I like have Japanese food because I work at a restaurant.
Yeah, I try to eat a little bit more than 3 meals, like 6 smaller meals because it's a little healthier.
Or I eat soup.
I eat usually on the run because I have no time to just sit down.
Or cereal.
I definitely spend more time eating on the run.
I like to spend time eating with my family, but I do tend to eat on the run. I'm not gonna lie.
We always eat dinner as a family, but in the morning I eat on the bus.
I do find time to eat 3 meals a day because look at me, you know? I'm a grown young man.
I'm always hungry after school.
And then I usually get like cookies before media, and I eat lots of junk food.
I'm feeling hungry right now.
I work with adults with eating problems, and almost every one of them started with their problems in childhood.
Oftentimes, too, if children are heavier, their activity is less, and they start at times to be abused by other children. They are teased, there's comments that come out, and oftentimes they start to react to that as well.
I can tell you that obesity does correlate highly with depression.
One thing with the obesity is we see an increased risk of diabetes, and we're seeing this younger and younger and younger, especially in children that are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes because of the obesity.
It used to be possible to walk or even bicycle to a lot of places if you wanted to, and now even if you want to, you really can't in many places. You have to get in a car. So you go from sitting in your house to sitting in your car on the way to somewhere to sitting wherever it is you've gone.
A typical stereotype for teens is that they only eat junk food or they go to fast food restaurants and that they eat the worst food possible. But I don't think that's completely true because I know I try to eat healthy stuff as well, some sweets here or there.
Yeah, I think they overreact because I think people tend to look at the weight rather than like the like how in shape you are and like how healthy you really are rather than weight.
A lot of people make a big deal, like Melissa said, about how much you weigh rather than how fit you are.
Teens mostly take the role of their parents. Like if their parents eat well, then they are more likely to.
No, I don't think people will overreact because it seems to be a big problem these days. Because a lot of kids tend to sit around or eat the worst food, and it looks like it is a growing problem.
If we go back to my generation, we didn't sit in front of computers for hours at a time. We went out and played after school. We were much more physically active. We didn't have access to all the junk foods that you guys do, and 2/3 of us are still fat. I mean, we had a much better head start than you guys do, and our generation is in terrible trouble.
By being good role models. We know that that is paramount for many of the children, is if they don't see it happening at home, you can tell them, but if you're not modeling it, it's very important. Also, being more active as a family, that's huge.
Keep quality food around the house, keep a real positive attitude about physical movement, look for enjoyable physical activities to share as a family.
Biggest thing you want to work with children is helping them to grow into their height. You know, we never put children on diets. We really don't. We work with them and to move in, grow into what their height is.
We get into this mindset where it's just all about what we weigh. As long as we weigh what we want to, or if we're losing weight, it almost seems like whatever it is that helps us lose weight is okay, and it's not. It's just a different form of body abuse. It's substituting one bad relationship with food for another.
At least, work out one meal a day, be it breakfast, lunch, or dinner, that everybody maybe could be together. For younger children anyway, it really does help with the obesity issue.
Challenge yourself to a 30-day experiment. For 30 days, make it a priority. Eat the right stuff, take the time, move around more, just for 30 days. And compare how you feel at the end of the 30 days with how you felt when you started.
The news is now well done. Let's flip it over and add some steak sauce and turn it over to Miss Steph Lacey at the Sports Information Center. It's all you.
Thanks, Emily and Kyle. Not every student at PTHS has to worry about gaining a few extra pounds. The athletes at Peters Township High School continue in another mostly successful spring season. Let's get right to the scores. The undefeated Peters Township baseball team continues to roll on and roll over its opponents. Last Monday, the Indians continued their stranglehold on the top spot of the AAA Section 4 by handily taking care of the Titans of West Mifflin in a Mercy Rule shortened 16-4 victory. Kevin McGuire and Matt Bianco sealed the win by each hitting a home run and knocking in 4. 2 nights later, the Ringgold Rams were the next victim, as the Indians used an ugly 9-run 5th inning to completely run away with it. Jordan Janokowski hit the homer in the Indians' 14-4 clobbering. Since opponents seem to be unable to catch up with the team this year, it took the weather to actually stop the Indians, as rain postponed a Friday afternoon clash with the first place at stake against the South Park Eagles. The Indians were leading the contest 4-0 in the top of the 5th when the rains came. Tonight, the Indians take their undefeated record out to Peterswood Park to take on the Bulldogs of Beth Center in a non-section game at 7 p.m. before taking the show to the road to Bell Vernon on Wednesday at 4 and capping off the week with a home game versus TJ at 7 on Friday. The boys' tennis team had both individual and team matches all last week, keeping them occupied on the court. At the Section 4 AAA singles tournament held at Mount Lebanon, Doug Sabositz fell to Mike Schuster from Mount Lebanon in the second round, while Andrew Nixon made it all the way to the title game before falling to the champion, Evan Rose of Upper St. Clair, which allowed Nixon to play in the WPIAL AAA singles tournament last week. However, he was defeated in the second round to John Sparrow of Shadyside Academy. The team took the road to face Baldwin Highlanders and came away with a 4-1 victory. The week concluded with the Indians taking care of the Blackhawks of Bethel Park by another 4-1 margin. On the slate for the team this week, following section doubles action, the team will combat the Upper St. Clair Panthers at home on Wednesday, and Friday the team will travel on the road to Canon-Mac to face the Big Macs in a 3:30 match. The boys' volleyball team found itself on the winning side of the net for the first time this season by taking down the Big Macs of Canon-Mac by a score of 3-1 last Tuesday. However, the winning streak ended at 1, as the team fell on the road to Upper St. Clair by a final of 3-0. The Indians hope to turn around the season tonight, traveling up the road to Dormont to take on the Keystone Oaks Golden Eagles at 7:30. Tuesday night, the team keeps it even closer to home by making their way to Mount Lebanon at 7 o'clock. They finally return home on Friday to clash with TJ. The girls' softball team continues its quest for a playoff spot. The team took on Mount Lebanon Blue Devils last Wednesday and came away with a 4-2 victory on Thursday. The girls found themselves in a pitching duel against Can McMillan, finally falling 1-0 on a bizarre two-base error when the ball was kicked in the dugout. Pitcher Shaylee Ayano kept the girls in it by striking out 14 and allowing no walks. Tonight, the girls take on the last-place Upper St. Clair Panthers and return home Wednesday against Baldwin at 3:30, and take to the road to face off against Can Mac. The girls' lacrosse team has been unstoppable this year. However, the team faced a tough challenge last Tuesday against Upper St. Clair. After the Indians surrendered the first 3 goals of the game, the girls' lacrosse team began to climb back into it. Bailey Terhune helped the Indian cause by putting in a goal from right out front. Then Kelly McGrail fed a pass over to Jen Doran, who put it into the net with 11 minutes and 40 seconds left in the game to knot it at 5 apiece. With just under a minute to go, it looked like victory was going to elude the girls as they were down 6-5 before Paige McMiniman scooped up the ball after winning the draw and drove it straight down the middle and put it past the goalie and tied the game. After a nearly full period without scoring in overtime, Jen Doran intercepted a pass from the USC goalie to cap off a 7-6 win with just 2 seconds left in the overtime period. The girls followed that up with a game against University High School on Friday the 21st, and it wasn't even close, as the girls easily took the game by a score of 24-1. Next up for the team is a road game against Bethel Park on Tuesday, before returning home on Thursday against Seton LaSalle at 7:30. The boys' team continued its winning ways by blasting the Fox Chapel Foxes last Tuesday by a score of 17-4. The team took on Franklin Regional over the weekend and fell to the Panthers with a score of 15-5. The boys find themselves traveling to Upper St. Clair this Wednesday before their home match this Saturday versus Pine Richland. The boys and girls track team spends much of its spring taking part in tournaments and invitationals. However, they do occasionally fit in a dual meet here or there. Last Wednesday, the teams took on both West Mifflin and McKeesport. The girls took the section title for the 6th time in the last 7 years by taking down West Mifflin 114.5 to 35.5 and McKeesport 121-20 to cap off the perfect regular season. Liz Metzmeyer set a new school record for her javelin toss. The boys' track team beat West Mifflin 86-64, but fell to McKeesport 79-71, leaving the boys in a 3-way tie for first place. Well, now I'm tired. So let's kick it over to our illustrious entertainment reporters, Tina Castillo and Mark Priori.
Thanks, Steph. We are quite illustrious.
Indeed. And I know you all have been desperately waiting on the edges of your seats to hear the top 5 movies of the past weekend. So without further ado, topping off the charts is the creepy Silent Hill, which pulled in $20.2 million in its debut. It seems that audiences are more interested in actual scary movies than movies called Scary Movie. But enough plunked down their cash for Scary Movie 4 for it to make $17 million in its second week. It seems that we can't get enough of assassination attempt movies in our lives, as Michael Douglas and Kiefer Sutherland's The Sentinel earned $14.7 million, good enough for it to make 3rd place. Kid flicks round out the top 5 as Ice Age The Meltdown brings in $12.8 million in week number 4, and maybe Kiefer Sutherland should consider a movie career, as he finds himself in the top 5 twice with the animated The Wild, which found enough kids who had already seen Ice Age to generate $8.1 million. But if you just feel like staying at home, there are several DVD releases this week, including Aeon Flux, which starred Charlize Theron as she tries to bring the girl action to the big screen like Uma Thurman in Kill Bill, but just really doesn't pull off the whole hardcore killer look like Uma does. Also looking very funny for all the wrong reasons is the 3rd installment of Dr. Dolittle, where Dr. Dolittle's daughter, Lisa, inherits his ability to talk to animals. Sadly, Eddie Murphy would not even star in his own movie series. For all you romantics out there, there are a few new releases coming out in this genre. I'm sure you all saw the millions of previews for Tristan and Isolde earlier in the year. Let me jog your memory. Before Romeo and Juliet, there was Tristan and Isolde. Another historical romance is coming out, which is called Casanova, starring Heath Ledger in a non-gay cowboy role. He's really starting to confuse me with all these different romances he's in. If you want a little more modern romantic movie, Shop Girl follows the relationship between a salesgirl and a businessman. However, Shop Girl can't be all romance and no comedy, since it's based on a novel by Steve Martin. If none of these romance movies sparked a little desire within you to see, there is always Match Point, directed by Woody Allen. But don't let Allen's reputation lead you to think it is a funny movie, because he has really entered a new genre with this one. That's all that's new to DVDs this week. Tina, what's your top pick of the week?
My top pick of the week is American Dreams. Always in the mood for Idol, can't get enough of Simon Cowell. Find out my top pick, you know it, after the break. Actually, we don't have breaks on at PT or free donuts in the morning. And I'm not talking about American Idol, but American Dreams, the hysterical satire of America's pop culture starring Hugh Grant, Dennis Quaid, William Dafoe, and Mandy Moore to name a few. While director and writer Paul Weitz tries a little too hard at times for a little laugh, you just have to remember how much stuff that goes on currently you couldn't not mock. Then again, if he got to mock every little bit of America's pop life, he would need many more movies just to take care of Jessica Simpson. Or did the Dukes of Hazzard already do that? Sorry, Daisy. Just like the reality show American Idol, American Dreams is a good way to spend a little more time with the family than just Tuesday and Wednesday night for an hour together. So take some time out of your weekend and go see it. I wonder if Simon Cowell wrote a review for this. Also in theaters this week is United, a youth human rights movie following the heart of one boy trying to fight for his right to play basketball. The movie was acknowledged at many film festivals this year and was also filmed in 14 different countries on 4 different continents. To put it together, Akila also comes out this weekend with one girl trying to change the world this time. However, her reasons are not as powerful seeing as she's just trying to make it to a national spelling bee. Although the plot sounds a little lacking, reviews for Akila have been good so far. Who knows, at the least, maybe a 5th grade spelling class will now have a reason to take a field trip to the movies. Also looking refreshing to the thirst for new movies is Water, following the life of Indian widows under British colonial rule in the 1930s, trying to take a stand during the rise for independence. And lastly are 2 movies that have much lighter plots and less propositions to change the world, RV and Stick It. RV stars Robin Williams back on the big screen in a funny movie. I just don't know if this will hurt his reputation as a funny man or send him back to doing more serious movies like 1 Hour Photo or Bicentennial Man. However, you can't say the plot isn't original because I can't ever remember seeing a movie about RV camping and the bizarre people a family meets on the road. Stick It is the new Bring It On for gymnastics and is even written and directed by the same writer of Bring It On. Hopefully Jessica Bettinger won't leave us with word retorts like, "Bring it."
Oh, it's been brought.
Again. That's for the entertainment section here at PT. Until next time, keep watching us because we'll be watching you.